so I've been around a bit. And I just hope that all of you men out there are getting your examinations. Because I'm wearing this, as I know a number of other people are, for 30 days now. I'm supposed to be out there introducing myself to Canadians. Right? I don't think I'm making a very good first impression.
No, it's not true.
Because of my mustache. Anyway, it's a pleasure to be here, and I was thrilled to stand and listen to my colleagues and what they had to say, and it's just it's an indication of the kind of strength that we have in the NDP caucus in Ottawa, and the kind of strength that we're going to have coming out of this leadership, whatever the final decision is on March the 25th. I want to thank Megan here, and I hope that the members of the executive of Dartmouth Cole Harbour are paying attention. This is the way you're supposed to have an AGM, I think, right? That's good. Listen, I want to take a few minutes to talk to you about why I got in the race. And a lot of people have been talking about Alexa McDonough, you know, I started with Alexa back in 1991 when there was 3 of us in the corner. Some of the people in Ottawa talk about some of the frustrations with not getting up to, having the opportunity to get up to say things, and that's. I mean, we used to be in a situation where, you know, we used to try to get a break because we were always on our feet and we were always talking and always going on. And I learned a lot about motivation. I learned a lot about hanging in and continuing to fight the good fight from Alexa and from a lot of the folks in this room. And you know, that's in fact why I decided to get back in politics this year. I don't like what I see happening in Ottawa. I don't like the kind of politics and policies that Stephen Harper has been bringing forward. I mean, you can just see it now with the majority government. His politics are divisive. He's trying to, you know, everything, it's not about people, it's about partisan politics. It's all about strategy. I mean, look what he's doing on the gun registry. That's wrong. Look what it is. Getting rid of this gun registry, getting rid of the records, having this kind of trying to split urban and rural voters is wrong. The attack he's making on the wheat board is wrong. What's happening in Native communities across the country is wrong. It's a travesty, and these are things that we have to stand up and fight against. That's our role as the official opposition. The tone of debate, and my colleagues have talked about it, the tone of debate in the House of Commons is really discouraging. Not only do they have a majority, and they're going to be able to vote through their legislation, but they're also taking the opportunity to shut down dissent. I mean, even we heard last week that last week and the week before that the government is not even sending a full party delegation to the global environment talks because of the fact that the opposition doesn't agree with him. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? That's the kind of thing that were happening in our committees. In the committee that I was on, the International Trade Committee, the majority on there is trying to restrict at every stretch, trying to restrict the witnesses that we have in there and the debate that we have in there. They're not bringing forward the kind of information we need to be able to examine the things that are happening, for example, around CETA. But we do know enough to know that it's not a good deal for Canada, and we've got to do a lot more to begin to bring a solid international trade policy to this country. But those are just some of the things that are happening, and those are some of the things that I and my colleagues are trying to work on. But what we've got to do, the only way that we can do that is by bringing more people in, removing barriers, both in the economy and in politics. There are too many barriers that prevent people from being able to participate. Whether it's in terms of employment, you know in Nova Scotia that in the trades, women make up 5% of the people employed in trades. I mean, it's shameful. Thanks to programs like the one that Nan Armour's involved in, Women Unlimited, beginning to do some work at assisting and supporting women to get the kind of access they need to that training and to get those job opportunities. I've had the opportunity to work with Nan on some of that project, and it's moving, but not fast enough, Nan, right? There are so many people in our communities who are facing those kinds of barriers. You know that the unemployment rate for the disabled in this country is in the area of 60%?
Shame.
I mean, what's that? That's just wrong. You know, there are those kinds of barriers all over the place that we have to begin to do something about. We hear reports that there's a skills shortage in this country, but there's not. There's a shortage of opportunities for people to be able to get work, to be able to go to work, to be able to contribute to their communities, and that's got to be our responsibility as New Democrats, to remove barriers, give people the opportunity to work so they can contribute to their communities. It's been raised, of course, that what our friend Megan has done, the shame that she brought Canada by her and Claude Gravel from the Nickel Belt going down to the United States to listen and to talk a bit about the real story around the tar sands and the pipeline, the Keystone Pipeline. That's the kind of thing that we need to do. I mean, environmental issues, climate change is not something that is confined to borders. It's international, it's global. These are things that we are all affected by. And by doing that, what Megan showed the world is that New Democrats understand that in order to come up with solutions for these kinds of major problems, our country wants to be part of the solution, working with other nations around the world. That's where Stephen Harper has fallen down, and that's what the New Democrats are going to do when they form government. My friends, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and part of the reason why I got into this race was because I have some experience in working and helping with so many of you in this room and making a breakthrough in Nova Scotia. I think it has been instructive. I find some similarities with what's happening in Ottawa. When we made the breakthrough in 1998, we went from 4 seats to 19 seats. We had the opportunity then to be the official opposition, and we knew that we were on a razor's edge, and we had a short period of time in order to try to sink enough roots into the earth so that we wouldn't be knocked off that pedestal. And we were successful at doing that, and that was because of people coming together, understanding what our purpose was, understanding who we were as New Democrats, understanding what we needed to do in order to solidify our position, in order to gain the confidence of Nova Scotians. So what we did, Alexa and John and I, and Alexa before us, we traveled the province, we talked with people in communities, we asked them for their input, we talked about their ideas, we gave it back to them, we learned a lot. We did that, and that's what I think helped lead it to our breakthrough in 1998. Didn't hurt that we had an incompetent Liberal government, I'll give you that. But that similarity exists. That similarity exists in Ottawa as well. But after, in 1998, that's what we did. All of the MLAs, that we traveled the province, we went door to door, we went community by community, and we talked with Nova Scotians about why the faith that they showed in us was well placed. And I think that's what we need to do in Ottawa. That's what we need to do. The New Democrats in Ottawa need to do right across this country. The next leader has to be able to start on March the 25th to travel this country from coast to coast to coast and have those conversations. Have those conversations with people in their living rooms, in their workplaces, in their community halls, about what they think needs to be done. How they want to get into this project. Because what we learned in the summer, I think, from Jack's tragedy, was that people have hope, and people do have optimism. They want to see politics be done differently. They want to be part of solving the problems that we're facing in this country. So we have to provide people with that opportunity. We have to provide the opportunity for them to people across this country to recognize that we don't believe that all the smart decisions come out of Ottawa, and that they have the right and the responsibility to be part of that decision-making process. And we have to make sure that those opportunities are made available. It's going to take a lot of time, it's going to take a lot of work, but we can do that. In Quebec, we have 59 new organizers. I mean, it's a fantastic group. It's a fantastic group of women and men of all ages. Yes, some very young, but yes, some as old as me, who have experience and who bring Romeo, for example, another leadership candidate, has a lot of experience. As he said at the convention, for those of you that were there, I may be new, but I'm no rookie, right? Because he'd been a high-level Cree negotiator, and he brings that to that experience to the caucus, and that's very important. But those people, the next leader will go out across the province of Quebec with those people and talk to them, and talk to their communities, and then those people will come to our community. Will come and as they have already, come into Halifax, come into Dartmouth, come into different parts of the country, and we will do that. We will do that as colleagues across the country, gain the respect and gain the confidence that Canadians, nearly 4.5 million Canadians showed in us in the last election. Those are some of the things that I think that we need to do. I'm excited about the potential in some of these ridings. I mean, you know, basic little things like giving people manuals. We know, we've done this here in Nova Scotia. Constituency associations having how-to manuals about how to set up constituency associations. You wouldn't believe it. I was in a couple of constituencies in Montreal a couple of weeks ago, and that's the problem they're having. They have the activists. They're all around. They are activists. They're working hard in their communities on different issues, but they don't know how to set up a constituency association. Pretty basic stuff. But we know how to do that, because we've done it here, we've done it in other places across the country. We'll do it in Quebec. We'll regain our status in Saskatchewan and in Manitoba and right across this country, because that's the kind of building that needs to happen. So I'm in this race because some would say I don't know any better. But I too have been inspired and motivated by a lot of people in my life. And I made a decision many years ago not to sit on the sidelines, but to step up when I felt it was my responsibility to step up and to say what needs to be said and to do what needs to be said. And I tell you, don't feel bad about Jack Layton, because Jack Layton has done an incredible job with the time that he had here on earth. He laid this out for us, and now it's our responsibility. He's looking down at us and he's saying, okay folks, now get at it. I've set the table for you. Now what you've got to do is you've got to bring home the meal. And that's our responsibility, and that's why I'm in this race. One last thing I want to say is that I'd like you to visit my website. It's robert2012.ca. We had to keep it short so I would remember it. But I say this for a reason. I talk about inclusion and engagement and seeking different ideas and bringing that into the mix. And we have an interesting piece of software on our website called Idea Scale. Not that that means anything to me. But what it does is it provides an opportunity for people to put their ideas on, for other people to comment on them, for people to vote them up or down. It's really an interesting way to have a discussion electronically. And why I was so excited about it is because I think those are the kinds of things we need to do. We need to do that in whatever means that we can, whether it be electronically, whether it be face-to-face. We need to go out and listen, have those kinds of engagements, have those kinds of discussions with people, because that's the only way we're going to find the solutions. It's all about collective wisdom. It's collective wisdom. People are pretty smart. We just have to make sure we provide them with the opportunity to participate. Because that's what the Occupy stuff is all about, I believe. It's about people wanting to have a say. It's people wanting in. It's people saying, this isn't good enough. And we need to do something about it. They don't have any more solutions than anybody else. But they know it's not right, and we got to have that discussion. I was in St. John's, Newfoundland on Friday, and I had lunch at the Occupy site. I sat down. There was the Women's Caucus from the NDP, Women's Caucus, the Newfoundland NDP. And Ray Michael wasn't even there. It's so exciting what's going on over in Newfoundland, Labrador, let me tell you. Anyway, I'm sitting there. We're sitting around in a group, and we're having discussions about different ideas. And somebody comes up to me and says, "Would you like some lunch? We're in a tent." And I said, no, that's okay. No problem. Well, all of a sudden, he dropped on me. Didn't drop. He passed to me a bowl of soup, a bowl of hot soup, a sandwich, and a couple of squares. I mean, that was so wild. And as Peggy said, I've been I've visited the Occupy sites in most places across the country where I've been, and had some pretty interesting conversations with women and men, not just young people. Not just young people. A number of people of different ages that are also interested in the ideas that are being discussed, and the way that the lack of structure and the collective decision making. I think it's quite exciting, and I was pretty disappointed with what happened here in Halifax, to say the least. The way that was all handled, but kind of my message has been to the occupiers is continue to take every opportunity and at every venue you possibly can to raise your questions, to raise your concerns, to continue to engage, maybe even get involved in politics. I know that's a stretch. But that's the only way we're going to make the change. That's the only way is for people to get up off their sofas, to get off the sidelines, and to move forward and do something where they change, change the circumstances. That's what I'm trying to do. That's what I encourage you to do. I'd like you to join us, sign people up. Let's go out and make sure, because people are watching. Canadians are watching what's happening. Jack Layton and New Democrats in the last election have raised people's hopes and expectations. And now what we need to do as New Democrats and as Canadians is to go out and meet those expectations. I'm doing what I can. What do you say? Let's go get it, huh?
Yes.
Thank you.